Look at that. That's the inner. George just did it by hand.
Like 3.
That one's by hand.
There's 3, I thought. Yep, there.
Well, that steer tire stud is 100% stripped. You can hand spin it. That's great. Just because it clicks like that doesn't mean that it's not over torqued, because it could have it set to 1,000 foot-pounds. The fact that it's not turning at all before it's clicking means that it's over torqued and stretched. So all those ones that are clicking right away, can we reverse the handle? Can you get it to click and then see how much pressure you put on it to get it to actually spin, so we know how much over torque they are right now? So it should click and move about the same time. And it's not. He's bending his bar. That is, you understand why I had you do that?
Yeah.
We recently went out to St. Louis to rescue a Scenic Cruiser bus, much like this one, only larger. And we had a horrible experience at the tire shop. It was unbelievable to me what happened. I'll show some videos of the aftermath here and everything, but real quick, I just want to talk about the Scenic Cruiser bus. First of all, it has 10 tires. It's only a 40-foot bus. This particular one is all completely gutted on the inside, so there's no weight to it. This was the first bus that GM produced for Greyhound that had a tag axle, a trailing axle on it. So it helps carry the weight. They actually didn't have a 40-foot vehicle, wasn't even allowed on the highways when this went into development. They lobbied to have the law changed, and they got the law changed so that 40-foot vehicles could be allowed on the highway, and then this went into production after that. But it was designed, it wasn't even legal. And part of the thing was that, weight on the axles, so they added a whole nother axle, the trailing axle back there, and they put 2 wheels on it. Most modern vehicles, even 45-foot buses nowadays, have just 1 trailing axle wheel on each side instead of 2. So this has double wheels on each side. So again, a total of 10 tires. So we're gonna ferry this thing 250 miles back home. We resurrected it. It broke down about 8 years ago. We got it running, driving, the air system fixed on it. We're ready to drive it 250 miles home. We take it to get new tires on it because it had very, very old tires. Some of the tires that were on it were still nylon bias tires, which they haven't even been made, I think, since like early 70s, late 60s, early 70s maybe. And we definitely didn't want to drive on those. So we took it over to the tire shop at Love's there and made sure that I told them, because these have bud nut wheels on it. So it's a dual set of wheels. This is the inner lug nut. That surface there goes up against the rim and holds the rim onto this wheel stud. And then you put another wheel on the outside of that. And then this lug nut will go on here and hold that on. On the driver's side of the bus, the left-hand side of the vehicle, all of the nuts are left-hand thread. So they have a big L stamped on them instead of an R. The other ones have an R. So left-hand thread on the left side, right-hand thread on the right side. So lefty-loosey, righty-tighty on one side, and then the opposite of that on the other side. So I made sure that I let them know that, because modern vehicles don't have that anymore. So unless they're used to working on older stuff, that reverse thread's gonna mess them up. So I made sure ahead of time. I didn't want any risk of things getting stripped out. Let's let them know. 1-inch impact guns are meant to remove lug nuts. They are not meant to put them back on. They have like 1,800 to 2,500, some of them are more than that, close to 3,000 foot-pounds of torque that they put on lug nuts with. And they're only supposed to be torqued, some of them range anywhere from 350 to 500, depending on the type of wheels and stuff like that. We typically set ours about 450 foot-pounds, which is a little bit more than what the manual is, but that's what the rim manufacturer actually recommends for the bud wheels that we have. So the problem is they put everything back on with the big 1-inch gun. And that's a big problem, because they over torqued them big time, stretched them, which is kind of normal. We see that happen at tire shops a lot. We don't do that here. We don't use the big gun to put them back on, and we use a torque wrench on everything. And going back and verifying that lug nuts are tightened by just using a torque wrench, so they go click, click, that is not good enough, because you might have them set at 1,000 foot-pounds, and it'll click at if you got it set at 450, it'll click at 450. You don't know that it's actually set at 1,000. But we actually went through and made them test some of the ones that they over-torqued. By reversing the procedure, it should click and then loosen, and it didn't. So they were way over-torqued, stretch threads. But the big problem that we came up was majorly stripped lug nuts. Some of them, and George actually reached down and grabbed one, and he could literally just pull it right off the stud. Didn't have to twist it, it would just pull right off. It would have flown off. As soon as we drove down the highway, it would have literally flown off of the wheel, the lug nut. And then on that particular wheel, 5 of the lug nuts were stripped out on one wheel. We had almost every wheel had at least one, if not more, studs or lug nuts completely stripped out on it after they serviced it. And they didn't say a dang thing about it. They just sent us on our way. And they used that 1-inch gun, they would have known they stripped them out. And then the big problem too is we asked them to leave on the tag axle, because this normally has 2 wheels on each side. We said, let's leave one of those off. It's a bud, so you're just gonna put it on with the outer lug nut, and we're only gonna have 1 wheel. Our bus is gutted empty. There's less than 3,000 pounds per tire, the load on there. So the weight ratings were well within the tire weight ratings to do that. That way we don't have to buy, tires are very expensive. They're $500 a piece. So let's save a little bit of money. We're only gonna ferry it 250 miles. It doesn't need 10 tires on it. 8 tires is perfectly fine. But on one side, when the inner lug nut holds on the tire that they put on, but then they went ahead and took the outer lug nut and just ran it all the way in tight on that lug nut with no rim on there, which there's nothing to stop it. It doesn't go up against anything. So there's nothing to hold it on there other than you're just getting to the end of the threads. It's made for that tapered surface to sandwich up against the rim, and then that's how it gets the torque. So they ruined the lug nuts just by running them and leaving them on there, which I should have never done. And that's what got George looking at it at first, because like, why did they do that? And then he grabbed it, and 3 of the lug nuts on that particular wheel were hand loose. You could turn them by your hand. And then as we went through, many of them were untorqued. They were, a revolution or some more off. So many of them stripped out. There was just no way for us to safely drive this vehicle back home with that many studs stripped, lug nuts stripped. We were gonna lose a wheel. So we have to replace everything. And we have talked to the people at Love's. They came over, you'll see in this video, they checked everything out. They admitted fault on it. They submitted a claim to their insurance. We've talked to them. Love's isn't disputing it. They're gonna pay for it. We're gonna put all new studs on all the wheels. We gotta pull the hubs to do that. So it's actually a really, really big job. It's over $2,000 just in parts to get all of the lug nuts and studs. We're not just replacing the studs because everything's been stretched. The threads on the lug nuts have been stretched, the threads on the inner nuts, the outer nuts, and then the studs themselves. So all that has to be replaced. It's a huge job. Nobody wanted to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't trust them to do it. So we're gonna, travel back out there and replace all those studs before we drive it back home. So it's a huge inconvenience. The tire shop experience was completely terrible too, because it took them like 7 hours to put 8 tires on the bus. That's just crazy. The particular employee that we had took more smoke breaks, spent more time smoking than he did actually working on the bus, I think. It was a horrible experience from the minute we walked in the door, and then to have all that damage done afterwards, I was just completely, it ruined our weekend. We were gonna hop in the bus and head home. Luckily we didn't, because it took them so long. In the day, we thought we were gonna not have daylight anymore, and we didn't want to drive at night. And that's when George discovered that the lug nuts were loose. And then again, in this video, you'll see we had the manager come over and one of their lead mechanics. These guys are not the guys that worked on the vehicle. And I did stress with the people at Love's that I didn't want to see anybody get fired over this. But I did expect them to have some serious retraining with all of their employees about safety, because what they did was extremely dangerous. They should have never put those, and obviously it's a company practice where they go through and use that big impact gun there in that shop to put those studs back, to put the lug nuts back on. They should not be doing that. That is not what it's for. There's just no way to, they're not using torque sticks. They're not, you can't give, there's no, a torque wrench is what needs to be used. You can use a very small gun if you want to run them up to get them, 250, 300, and then go from there with a manual wrench. Nobody wants to take the time to do that because they're lazy. But they're dangerous, and somebody's gonna get killed, and the staff needs to be retrained so this kind of stuff doesn't happen again. Watch this video. This stuff is absolutely unbelievable.
Wow.
Okay, we just got back from the tire shop. First of all, they put the lug nuts, the outer lug nuts on there. We only went with 1 tire on the tag, but look at that. That's the inner. So I just did it by hand.
I think 3.
That one's by hand.
There's 3, I thought. Yep, there. That one's rough as hell, but 3 of them by hand.
So the first one that they just got there, that was just under torqued?
Yep. No, this one's not.
Yeah, that's stripped. The one that they had clicked right there, though. Yeah.
I'm counting how many.
Isn't that DOT qualified to do that on every tire, every rim? They didn't do the fronts. The whole place.
Well, we're gonna have to pull the outers so you can check the inners on this side then.
Well, let's see if the outers are done. So just because it clicks like that doesn't mean that it's not over torqued, because it could have it set to 1,000 foot-pounds. The fact that it's not turning at all before it's clicking means that it's over torqued and stretched. Is that a different one, or is that the same one? It was just slipping on. Will that torque wrench? Okay. We have the. Is that a snap-on one? We have the snap-on one. You have to flip the handle around in order to do it backwards.
Ours has a thing on the back.
So all those ones that are clicking right away, can we reverse the handle? Can you get it to click and then see how much pressure you put on it to get it to actually spin, so we know how much over torque they are right now?
Do they max the thing out?
No, I just want to know.
Okay.
So it should click and move about the same time. And it's not. He's bending his bar. That is, you understand why I had you do that? So when you use that impact gun, especially on these left-hand tires, oh, are you fucking shitting me? That's not clicking, right?
It's clicking. I just don't want to. Here, I'll show you. Oh,
Yeah, it didn't click.
it did click. I heard it the first time, but.
No, it's just it's skipping on the wheel.
Yeah, the
Oh, okay.
did you reverse the handle?
Yeah.
No, the bar though. Is it not going to click? This have to be flipped back around.
Oh, you know what? Probably what it is. Yep. Right. My mistake.
That's nice. It wiggled before it clicked. That's how I like to see it. Those are probably over torqued like this. That's not moving at all. That does piss you off, right? I mean, no, We'll keep you updated on the progress of what happens with Loves and make sure that they do follow through with what they said they're going to do. If not, we'll do another video or I'll add something to the comments on this one too. It'll be a pinned comment at the top, so watch for that. But as of now, they say they're going to take care of everything. So we're ordering all the parts. We're supposed to get reimbursed and we're going to go from there. But hopefully they'll have some retraining and this is never going to happen at that store again.